All right, here we go with section 2.5. Let's do the warm-up. Again, you should try all 5 of these, see which ones you can do. And then, so pause the video, give the kids time to attempt all of them. And when everyone's had a chance to do the ones they know how to do, start the video back up and I'll run through them right now. All right, solving equations. Love solving equations. Love it. Okay, draw a line, locate the variable. Now opposite, you have to get rid of whatever's with the variable. It's a positive 5 because there's nothing before it. So I'm going to subtract 5. Both sides, and x is a -7. -2 and a -5 is a -7. Over here, we're going to draw a line, locate the variable. This time, there's multiplication, so the inverse operation is a division. So we're going to divide both sides by 8. I want the variable alone. So I have 43 over 8, which is also equal to, how many times does 8 go into 43? 5 and 3/8. Either is fine. Sorry about the shadows here. I'm doing my best with the situation. I'm running from room to room trying to find somewhere to videotape, and I keep getting people by me. Anywho, draw your line, locate your variable. Now the variable is kind of trapped up on top of that grouping symbol right here. So that is a grouping symbol right here. So you can't just take the C out or subtract a 5. They go together right now. Until you get rid of that grouping symbol, that division, the C plus 5 goes together. So I gotta, in this case, and normally we'd say opposite PEMDAS, right? But this is grouped together. So that's at the very top of PEMDAS, isn't it? Parentheses. So whenever you see a grouping symbol like this big sign and something on top, you can put the parenthesis around it to help you remember that's the last thing you can unpack. You first have to do this division of 4. That's tricky. So times it by 4, times it by 4, 4's cancel, and I'm now able to let go of those parentheses. So I can finally break apart the C and the 5 because that grouping symbol isn't necessary anymore without the 4. 6 times 4 is 24. Locate the variable, subtract 5, and C is 19. Over here, draw your line, locate the variable, which is an S. Opposite PEMDAS is add, subtract first. I don't have any big grouping to worry about, so I'm going to subtract 0.6 from both sides. And I'm going to get 0.3s equals, I'm going to subtract there, and what do we get? 9.9. 0.3 times s is equal to 0.9, so I got to divide by 0.3. And what are you going to get? 3. All right, down here, draw your line. Uh-oh, I've got the variable on both sides. We just talked about this in the last video I showed you. We got 2 sets of k's. Move the smaller one, and I look before it, and I see there's nothing there, so it means it was a positive k, so I need to do the opposite and subtract k. Those are gone. 10k minus 9k is 1k, or just k, either way, is equal to 2. Opposite PEMDAS, now we have a subtracting a 6, so we're going to add a 6. 1k equals 8. I don't have to do any dividing because anything divided by 1 is just 8, so we are done right there. And so you don't have to have the 1, you can just have the k. All right, so I hope you did well on that. I'm going to flip it over here and we're going to jump ahead. I don't have my sheet here that with the exact definition like I do. I left it at school accidentally, but a formula basically, you can either get it out of the book or you can write what I'm saying, but it won't be formal. Shows the relationship between variables. So when I write, like we talked about, let's say we talk about the area of a rectangle. Area of a rectangle is length times width. That's a formula. It shows a relationship. Tells you that when you take a length and a width of a rectangle and multiply them, that's going to be equal to the area. So it's a relationship. A literal equation is an equation, again, equation has an equal sign, with more than one variable. So I don't mean, just to be clear, something like this. Even though there's two variables, they're the same one. Okay, so it'd be different. It'd be different variables. So that would be a literal equation because it has 1, 2, 3 variables. The area of a triangle, or a formula for area of a triangle, that's literal. It has 3. So the solving for all these is the same as any other thing, but it gets a little bit tricky. Here's the formula for a circle. And what is it? It's a circumference. So they use the C, representing circumference of a circle in terms of diameter. So pi is just a number. You might look at that and think, oh, that's a, what do you call it? A variable. It is not. That's 3.14. That is a number. So circumference is equal to 3.14 times the diameter. Let's see what they want us to do. The formula circumference equals pi times diameter gives the circumference of a circle in terms of its diameter, d. So that means diameter. The circumference of a bowl is 18 inches. Okay, so they gave you this and told you that that is circumference. So you know now what C is. It's 18. What is the bowl's diameter? So they're looking for D. Leave pi in your answer. In other words, they don't want you to grab your calculator. Your answer will say pi. So you start off with the formula they gave you, C equals pi d, and you are simply going to substitute what you know and solve just like you would normally solve. So what do I know? I know that C is 18, so I go over here to the C and I'm going to write an 18. Pi is a number, just a number. It's not going to change. Diameter is d. That's what I have to find. So I need to draw my line and locate the variable I'm trying to solve for, which is d. Well, d is being multiplied by pi. So what am I going to divide both sides by? Well, keep in mind, if you had this, I bet you wouldn't have any trouble. You'd say, oh, you divide by what? 3.14. Right. Well, this is the same. Divide by pi. And you just write the symbol instead of the number. 18 divided by pi. Leave pi in your answer. I have pi in my answer. I don't want to change it. I am done. The diameter is 18 over pi. Do we have a unit? We do have a unit right there, inches. So I should have put inches on that. Okay, so we're taking our solving and we're putting it up a notch where we actually are going to use it. The formula for area of a triangle, we just talked about that up there, is 1/2 times base times the height, where b is the length of the base. Okay, so if you have a triangle, this would be my base. The height is always perpendicular to the base, so this would be my height. Solve for h. Okay, so they don't give you any numbers. They just simply say, here you go, solve for h. That means that you need to get the h alone. I've got 1/2 times b times h. I've got two things to get rid of here. I want to get rid of the fraction first. Why? Because it bothers me. Let's get rid of it. How do I get rid of this? By dividing by 1/2, which is the same as what, class? Multiplying by the reciprocal on both sides. Oops, I forgot to draw my line and locate my variable. Sorry about that. The 2's cancel. 1's cancel. We are left with b, h. What do we have over here? Well, the 1's in the bottom and the a is over 1, too, so you just have the 2a. That's fine. I don't need to have numbers in those where those spots are. I'm trying to just get the h alone, and then I'm done. Well, I have b times h. So what's the opposite of multiplying? Dividing by b Again, I'm leaving the h alone. I'm going to rewrite it with the h on that side, but the h is alone. And now what's over here? 2a over b. Okay, so we have a couple more. Down here, we're going to start with these two. Okay? I'm going to come back to that. It's a real tough one. It's more of a challenge problem, so I'm going to jump to these. If you are solving this, you have to look and say, what am I solving for? Because I have two things. I have an x and a y. I don't know which one. Well, it tells you right here for x. So you need to draw your line, locate that variable, because that's what you're solving for. What's on the same side of that line with that variable that you need to get rid of? That. So it's a positive y, so I'm going to subtract y. And now you might be like, well, okay, but how do you take 15 minus y? Well, you can't. You just have to write 15 minus y. That's the answer. That's how these are going to work out. When you have more than one variable, and if I don't tell you a number for one of them, you're going to still have them here. It's just now we've solved for that. So, for example, a situation you might want to do this for is if I had a bunch of data, or I had a whole list of all different y's for some formula. It's much easier to just pop them in here and do a simple subtraction than to put them in here and do the mental math every time. It's all set up. If y is 1, 15 minus 1 is 14. If y is 2, 15 minus 2 is 13. So I can pop them in real quick when I'm able to manipulate the equation. But we're not actually going to do that part right now. We're just practicing the solving. All right, so here's another one. It's PQ equals X. We're solving for Q. Again, draw your line. Let me get a different color because let's just face it. We're sick of that purple, aren't we? Draw your line. Circle the Q. And I've got P times Q. I need the Q by itself. So what do? It's P times Q. I'm going to divide. Do the opposite of multiply. I'm going to divide by P. P over P is the same as 5 over 5. It's 1. What are you left with? The Q. And now this, again, can't be simplified. I don't have numbers for those, so I'm just going to rewrite it as X over P, or X divided by P. It's the same thing, and we're done. Okay, so if I told you X is 15 and P is 5, what's Q? 3. Yep. Makes it quick and easy to do a simple division if I need to figure out a bunch of Q's. All right, let's take a look at our last one here. Solve the formula for the person's typing speed E. So this is a little confusing because the letters. This is S, okay? That's a letter S. This is the E, W, and M. How many variables? 4. S, W, E, and M. The question is, what are we solving for? E. So I'm going to write it over here so I have more room. S equals W minus 10E over M. So I need the E alone. What did I say about that big old grouping sign, that division sign? Ooh, I'm going to use a sparkle. Watch this. My sparkle pen. Oh, it didn't even look like it sparkles. Oh, that's too bad. That you can't break apart, right? We said that before. You can't break that apart until you get rid of the M. So we are going to get rid of the M. We are dividing by M, so the opposite of dividing is multiplying by M. The M's cancel. I'm left with W minus 10E. Can I drop the parenthesis now? Yes, because the M's gone, so I finally can break those apart. And I have MS. I don't like that color. No, I don't. Draw your line, locate your variable. I got to get that alone. We got a multiplication here, and we have an addition. What's before the W? Nothing. So that means the W is positive. So I'm going to subtract a W. W's cancel. Again, I can't put that together because they're all different variables. So I just have to write it like that. MS minus W equals a negative, don't forget your negative, 10E. Now, we're still solving for E. I'm not adding 10, you guys. That's a common mistake. Remember, it's multiplied. It's a negative 10 times E. So I am still dividing by a negative 10. Woofda! If you could follow that and understand that, you are doing pretty darn good. That was definitely the challenge problem of the day. Okay? I don't think there's too many that tough in the homework, but keep your homework sheet with you to use, and that's all she wrote for 2-5. Take care.